Good morning, class 9. So, today let's start the story Hearts and Hands, fine? Written by O. Henry, fine? So, children, before starting that story, let me tell you about the theme of the story. What is the theme of the story? The theme of the story is appearance versus reality. Got it? So, this is the thing we will keep in mind while we will discuss the story. Take how appearance can be different from reality, and the second the second theme of this story is compassion, right? Compassion, and the other thing is appearance is sometimes deceptive. Sometimes whatever appears to us, it is not necessary that it is correct, it is real, right? Something is looking too good, so it is not necessary that it is really good, so that we have to go through, right? So we are having a few characters here, so let's start with the story. Look at your book carefully while you are going through the video, right? At Denver, there was an influx of passengers into the coaches on the eastbound B&M Express, right? So Denver is a station name. At Denver, there was an influx, a large number of people, a crowd we can say. Fine, an influx of passenger into the coach on the eastbound B&M Express. So the train was B&M Express, and one of the coaches, in the coaches of the, and where the train was going to, towards the east. Fine, and in the coaches, the number of people are coming. Okay. In one coach, there sat a pretty young woman dressed in elegant taste and surrounded by all the luxurious comfort of an experienced traveler. So, in one coach, there sat a pretty young woman. In one of the coach, a pretty beautiful young girl was sitting dressed in elegant taste and surrounded by all luxurious comfort of an experienced traveler. So, how she is dressed? She is dressed gracefully. Clear? Dressed in elegant taste, she dressed gracefully, and she was having all the things that are necessary for traveling. So this shows that the girl was used to of traveling. She's having everything that is necessary to make our travel comfortable. Got it? Among the newcomers were two young men, one of handsome presence with a bold, frank countenance and manner. So among the newcomers, the passengers who brought into the train, two young men were there. Right. So one of the men was handsome, was of handsome presence with a bold, frank countenance faced. So one of the two young men, he was very handsome. He was looking bold. He was looking very frank, clear in his physical appearance and in his manner, and the other, a ruffled, gloom faced person, heavy built and roughly dressed. So, children, please mark this difference very carefully. It's clear? Because I told you in the beginning that one of the themes we will assess through the story is appearance sometimes is deceptive. So one of the men was looking very handsome, he was looking very bold, smiling face, and another man, he was ruffled, he was upset, gloom faced man, he was gloomy faced, he was not smiling, clear, heavily built, he was little bit stout and roughly dressed. He was not so handsome, he was roughly dressed. The two were handcuffed together. So what is the thing? These people were handcuffed together. They were tied. They were tied with a handcuff. Handcuff क्या होता है? हथकड़ी. Clear? They were chained together. Clear? I hope all of you know what is a handcuff. You might be familiar with that. You might have seen that. It is a metal fastening chair. ठीक है, metal fastening होती है that can be locked around the wrist, and it is usually connected by a chain, right? So the two people, they were handcuffed together. As the passengers, as they passed down the aisle of the coach, The only vacant seat offered was a reserved one facing the attractive young woman. Clear? As they passed down the easel, what does it mean by easel? Easel होता है narrow passage between the two sections of a seat. जैसे classes में आप लोग देखते हैं ना, rows में benches लगे होते हैं, एक row में here and one row there. So the narrow passage between these two rows is known as easel. Fine. So as they pass down the easel of the coach, so as these two young men, handcuffed young men, as they pass down the easel, so they have only one vacant seat. And where it was facing, it was opposite, it was in the opposite direction of that young beautiful girl. Clear? Here the linked couple seated themselves. The young woman's glance fell upon them with a distant, swift disinterest. So the young lady, she looked at them. At first, when she looked at them, she did not take any interest in them. Okay? She didn't show any interest in them. Then, with a lovely smile brightening her countenance and a tender pink tinging her rounded cheeks, she held out a little grey gloved hand. Then, when she looked at that person, suddenly a broad smile was there on her face and a tender pink tinging her rounded cheek. Tinging means to give something a small color. Yeah, or suddenly a bit pinkish color were there on her cheeks. She was very happy. She held out a little grey gloved hand. So she just held out her hand that was covered with a grey colored glove. Fine. Why she held her hand out for handshake? When she spoke, her voice, full, sweet, and deliberate, proclaimed that its owner was accustomed to speak and be heard. And when she spoke, her voice was commanding. Clear? But it is sweet but commanding. Clear? And it declared that her voice should be listened. Well, Mr. Easton, if you will make me speak first, I suppose I must. Don't you ever recognize old friends when you meet them in the West? Then she asked. She knew one of the men. Clear? So she said, okay, Mr. Easton, the two young men who was sitting uh, in front of her, she knew one of the person and she asked, well, Mr. Easton, if you want me to speak first, fine, I will. Don't you recognize your friends when you meet them in the West? The young man aroused himself sharply at the sound of her voice, seemed to struggle with a slight embarrassment, which he threw off instantly, and then clasped her finger with his left hand. So the young man, who is known to that young lady, when she listened to her voice, clear, he become alert. He roused himself. He become attentive. He become alert, and he was feeling a little bit embarrassed. Embarrassed for what? Because his hand was handcuffed. But instantly he shake off that embarrassment and he held her hand with his he held her finger with his left hand. Why? Because his right hand was handcuffed. Fine. It's Miss Fairchild, he said with a smile. I will ask you to excuse the other hand. It is otherwise engaged just as present. So he recognized her. Like, oh, is it Miss Fairchild? Was like, excuse me, just excuse my other hand because it is tied, it is engaged. So I am just having a handshake with the left hand. Excuse me for that. But is it Miss Fairchild? So she is that the person, Mr. Easton. He knew that girl. So what is the name of that young lady? Clear, who was sitting over there? Miss Fairchild. Okay. So children, we have just done one page of this story, page number 69. Kindly go through it, revise it carefully. Now we will complete this story tomorrow. Rest of the part we will do tomorrow. Till then, if you have any problem in this page, kindly ask it to me. Okay. Thank you.